Imagine like a cell phone just lost in a ditch for an entire year.
Yeah, just sitting out there exposed.
Right. It sits through 26 inches of rain. It survives a brutal Texas ice storm.
Oh, had a whole summer of heavy lawnmowers, too.
Exactly. Mowers passing directly over it. Yet when it's finally found, there's not a single scratch on it.
Which is, basically impossible.
Completely impossible. The internal water damage sensors are completely white, and the battery is dead but not powered off manually, just drained out naturally.
Yeah, the digital forensics on that are fascinating.
Welcome to today's deep dive into the source material. We're looking at how a literally pristine iPhone became the center of a town's total collapse into paranoia.
It really is a case that just completely dismantles that romanticized idea we have of the American small town.
Oh, for sure.
We like to believe that in a town where everyone knows everyone, secrets are, impossible to keep.
Right, everyone's in everyone else's business.
Yeah, exactly. But when a community's closed ecosystem is shattered by this unexplained tragedy, we see firsthand how quickly that comfort turns into sheer suspicion.
So the setting is Canadian Texas. Population is just over 2,500 people.
Tiny.
Very small. It's Thanksgiving Eve, November 23rd, 2016. Tom Brown is an 18-year-old high school senior.
And he's the student body president, right?
Yeah, student body president, popular, seemingly living a great life. He's hanging out with friends that night, but he actually misses his midnight curfew.
Which was unusual for him.
Super unusual. By the next morning, so Thanksgiving Day, his red Dodge Durango is found abandoned near the town's water treatment plant.
But Tom isn't there.
No, Tom is completely gone, and his backpack, his laptop, his cell phone, all of it is missing from the vehicle.
And this wasn't a situation that just resolved over a frantic weekend. The search stretched out for over 2 grueling years.
2 whole years. Family, friends, law enforcement, they scoured the entire Texas panhandle.
Yeah, it wasn't until January 2019 that partial human remains and skull fragments were discovered.
Wow. Where were they found?
About 14 miles away from town out near Lake Marvin. They were actually found by a local Hemphill County deputy named Pine Gregory.
Which, keep that name in mind for later.
Right, definitely. And when the anthropological and autopsy reports eventually came back, the official cause and manner of death were listed simply as undetermined.
Which is just staggering to me. Like, how does someone so prominent in a place where literally everyone knows your business vanish into thin air?
It defies logic.
It does. It's like dropping a pebble in a small pond, but instead of ripples, it creates a tsunami of paranoia.
What's fascinating here is the psychological reaction of the community to that empty puzzle. When verifiable facts are absent, human beings abhor a vacuum.
Oh, absolutely. We have to have an answer.
Exactly. We will fill it with something. In a tight-knit community, that initial panic quickly metastasizes. The community actually begins to fracture.
People start turning on each other.
Oh, big time. Without immediate answers, people start pointing fingers. First at local law enforcement, then at outsiders, and eventually at their own neighbors.
Wow.
The collision of official police work and the family's inevitable private investigations creates this highly toxic environment. Suddenly, facts become entirely subjective.
And subjective is putting it mildly. I mean, almost immediately, Tom's mother, Penny Meek, felt law enforcement wasn't doing enough.
So she took matters into her own hands.
Yeah, she hired a very controversial private investigator named Philip Klein. And this completely pitted the family's private findings against the local sheriff's office, which was run by Sheriff Nathan Lewis.
And later, against the Texas Attorney General's Special Investigations Group.
Right. And when you look at the physical evidence these two sides are arguing over, it is just bizarre.
Let's talk about the car first.
The Dodge Durango. Yeah, so Klein holds this massive presentation claiming he did a luminol test that showed blood absolutely all over the interior of Tom's car.
Like a huge amount of blood.
Yes. He uses this to push a narrative of a really violent, bloody murder.
Which requires us to understand how a luminol test actually works mechanically.
Okay, break that down for us.
So luminol is a chemical that exhibits chemiluminescence. It basically glows blue when it reacts with the iron found in hemoglobin, which is a component of blood.
Got it.
It is a fantastic presumptive test. But the key word there is presumptive.
Because it reacts to things other than blood, right?
Tremendously so. Luminol is notorious for false positives. It reacts aggressively to copper, rust, certain cleaning agents containing bleach.
Wait, really? Bleach?
Yeah, bleach. Even plant enzymes like horseradish can make it glow.
Oh, wow. I had no idea.
So a glowing interior doesn't definitively mean a bloodbath occurred. It could mean the car was recently aggressively cleaned with bleach or just contained specific soils.
So it's not a slam dunk.
Far from it. And the Texas Attorney General's report flat out contradicted Klein's presentation.
Oh, did they do their own testing?
They did. After meticulous forensic testing, the AG's investigators found only one small, single spot of Tom's blood in the entire vehicle.
One small spot. And somehow, Klein's dramatic presentation just missed or omitted that nuance entirely.
Names that way.
But, okay, as crazy as the car evidence is, the absolute centerpiece of this mystery is Tom's iPhone.
The phone is arguably the most contested and mechanically baffling piece of physical evidence in this entire case.
Let's lay out the timeline for you guys listening. Tom vanishes in November 2016.
Right.
His phone isn't found until October 2017. That's 11 months later.
Almost a full year.
And it's found in a ditch on Lake Marvin Road. It was discovered relatively early into a specialized search that was organized by the family and their private investigator.
But here is the kicker. The phone is in pristine physical condition. No scratches. The screen isn't cracked. And the FBI forensics lab confirms that the liquid damage indicators inside the phone hadn't even been activated.
Which is just wild.
To appreciate how impossible that is, you have to look at the mechanics of liquid damage indicators, or LDIs.
Okay, tell me about those.
These are tiny white or silver stickers placed inside electronic devices. They contain a chemical that permanently turns pink or red upon direct contact with liquid water or even intense humidity.
And it was out there for 11 months.
Allegedly. But in the 11 months between Tom's disappearance and the phone's discovery, Hemphill County received approximately 26 inches of rain.
Wow.
The area was hit by a severe winter ice storm. Furthermore, the specific ditch where it was found had been mowed by heavy machinery several times over the summer.
So it should have been destroyed.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yet those LDI stickers remained perfectly, purely white.
Wait, so are we meant to believe a pristine iPhone survived a year of Texas weather and summer mowers? Is the AG implying someone actively planted this evidence?
This raises an important question, doesn't it? Because the physical condition is only half the story here.
Right, there's the digital side.
The AG report goes deep into the digital forensics of that device, looking specifically at the sysdiagnose logs.
Sysdiagnose logs, what are those?
They are deeply embedded system logs that iOS generates. They record exactly what the hardware is doing behind the scenes.
Oh, interesting. What did they show?
The data logs showed the phone died at exactly 12:23 a.m., the night Tom vanished. But the logs proved it wasn't powered off manually by someone holding the button.
So it just ran out of juice?
Exactly. The battery systematically drained to zero, and it never received power again until the FBI plugged it in at their lab a year later.
Which brings up the most crucial detail, why it died and what was actually missing when it was found.
Right.
So Tom's friends told investigators he was super religious about keeping his phone charged. He almost always had one of those bulky battery charging cases attached to his phone to double its life.
And the digital forensics totally backed up the friend's testimony. Yeah. The logs showed a plug-in charging event earlier that evening while Tom was at his house. But the system never recorded an unplug event.
Whoa.
Mechanically, this strongly suggests the secondary battery charging case was physically attached to the phone when the device finally died.
But when the phone was found in the ditch 11 months later, it was just the bare iPhone. There was no charging case.
None at all.
And this is where my jaw dropped reading the transcripts. During a closed-door meeting with the AG investigators, an agent literally asks Penny Meek, Tom's mother, where the phone's battery case is.
And what did she say?
She replies, "I always had it." She claims she found it in Tom's room or his belongings shortly after he went missing.
Wow. See, that shifts the entire focus of the investigation.
Now,
We are no longer just looking at the timeline of a disappearance.
we're looking at pampering.
We are looking at the manipulation of a crime scene. If the phone died with the case on it at 12:23 a.m., but the mother had the case the whole time.
Then the phone could not have been in that ditch since the night he vanished.
Exactly. Someone had it. Someone removed the case. And someone placed the bare phone in that ditch much later.
On top of that, the AG report reveals a deeply troubling digital footprint.
Yes, the internet history.
At 9:11 p.m. on the night he vanished, while he was supposedly just driving around hanging out with friends, a Google search was made on that exact phone for a suicide hotline.
Very significant.
Extremely. Furthermore, digital forensics showed his iCloud backups were totally empty and his Facebook page had been deleted.
And deleting a Facebook page isn't an accident. That's an action that requires the user to actively input their password.
Right, you have to be intentional about it.
But because the physical evidence, like that mathematically impossible pristine phone, was so baffling, the town just couldn't accept the simple explanation.
They needed a villain.
Yes. The vacuum of logic became a breeding ground for conspiracy, which leads us directly to the escalation of the private investigators' theories.
Here's where it gets really interesting. Because the theories didn't just escalate, they exploded into an entirely different genre.
Oh, complete.
We are talking high-dollar gambling rings, corrupt sheriffs, and huge defamation lawsuits.
Philip Klein, the private investigator, held this massive 4-hour town hall presentation.
4 hours.
Yeah. And during this, he introduced a staggering claim via an audio recording from an imprisoned former high school football player named Chris Jones.
Right. And Jones claims on this tape that Sheriff Nathan Lewis was actually the violent enforcer for a high-stakes gambling ring in Canadian.
A gambling ring taking massive bets on local high school football games, no less.
Yeah. According to Jones, he was put in the back of a patrol car, blindfolded, and driven out to a rural area.
It sounds like a movie.
It really does. When the blindfold is removed, he claims he sees 18-year-old Tom Brown tied to a chair.
And who is standing over him?
Deputy Pine Gregory.
The exact same deputy who had supposedly discovered Tom's remains 2 years later.
The very same. And Jones claims Gregory was holding a gun to Tom's head to force the boys to throw an upcoming football game.
It is an incredibly extreme, almost cinematic theory. But if you're listening to this and wondering how an entire town could ever entertain such an absurd idea about their own local law enforcement, well, you have to understand the documented, undeniable behavior of Sheriff Lewis himself.
Yeah, because Sheriff Lewis wasn't exactly a beacon of integrity. Investigative records from the Texas Commission on Law Enforcement, or TCOL, they were obtained by local news.
And what did they show?
They showed that Lewis was investigated and formally reprimanded for some severe ethical breaches.
He wasn't just bending the rules either. He was falsifying and fabricating government records.
Wow.
And get this, he was turned in by his own chief deputy, Brent Clapp.
Oh man, that's bad when your own deputy turns you in.
Right. Lewis needed to show officer field training hours for his deputies and himself. So instead of doing the training, he literally fabricated Microsoft Word documents to back up the hours.
Just typed them up.
Just typed them up. And when state investigators confronted him, he lied about when he created the documents. He only corrected his timeline when the digital metadata proved he was lying.
Busted by the metadata. And the TCOA summary contains a really chilling quote.
Oh, right, from the chief deputy.
Yeah. The chief deputy told investigators that it wasn't outside the realm of possibility for Lewis to fabricate these training documents because Lewis had previously manufactured a supplementary report for a missing person case a full year and a half after the incident actually happened.
That's horrifying.
Think about that analogy. This entire situation is like a Hollywood script that got rejected for having too many unbelievable subplots, gambling rings, corrupt sheriffs, and lawsuits.
It really is. It's like building a house on a foundation of sand.
Yeah.
Even if the roof, meaning the murder investigation, is structurally sound and done entirely by the book, nobody's going to trust the building because the foundation is entirely corrupt.
So it makes it easier for grieving families to believe in these massive murder conspiracies.
Exactly. It highlights the profound, destructive danger of a compromised authority figure. Even if Sheriff Lewis had absolutely zero involvement in any crime against Tom Brown, his documented dishonesty regarding official paperwork created a massive credibility void.
The town just couldn't trust him.
When law enforcement loses the public trust on the small things, conspiracy theories about the big things don't just survive, they absolutely thrive.
And thrive they did, leading straight to literal legal warfare.
Right, the lawsuits.
Yeah. Penny Meek and her family ended up suing several people for defamation and conspiracy. They targeted local radio hosts Chris Samples and Michael Crane, along with Lori Ezel Brown.
And she's the respected publisher of the Canadian Record newspaper, right?
Yes, she is. So the lawsuit actually stemmed from public discussions on the radio. The hosts, specifically Michael Crane, who was also a private investigator.
Another PI in the mix.
Yep. He openly theorized on air that Tom had actually died by suicide. And he suggested that his family, unable to deal with the reality of that, had staged a cover-up by moving his body and planting evidence to make it look like a murder.
But the court stepped in before this could ever go to a jury, right?
They did. The 7th District Court of Appeals in Amarillo dismissed the remaining claims using something called the Texas Citizens Participation Act.
Right. For you listening, these are commonly known as anti-SLAPP laws.
SLAPP.
SLAPP. It stands for Strategic Lawsuits Against Public Participation. The justice system uses these laws to protect free speech, and the mechanical way they work is actually brilliant.
How so?
Normally, a lawsuit triggers discovery. That's an incredibly expensive, drawn-out process of gathering emails and depositions.
Oh, that can cost a fortune.
Exactly. It can financially ruin a defendant, even if they eventually win the case. Anti-SLAPP laws immediately pause all discovery.
Nice.
They force the plaintiff, in this case, the family, to prove they have a valid prima facie case up front. If they can't, the lawsuit is dismissed, and the plaintiff often has to pay the defendant's attorney fees.
Oh, wow, that's a huge deterrent.
It is. The court ruled that the radio hosts were legally protected because they were clearly stating their opinions.
Yeah, they were using framing words like believe and theory rather than asserting verifiable malicious facts.
Right. It's designed to prevent people from using financially ruinous lawsuits to silence opinions or journalistic inquiry they simply don't like.
It was a massive victory for free speech and press freedom in Texas.
But for the town of Canadian, it just added so much agonizing noise to an already deafening case.
So let's try to do what the Reddit sleuths and journalists had to do. Let's strip away the defamation lawsuits, the fake training records, and the bizarre football gambling rings.
Let's look at the quiet, heartbreaking deductions made by journalists.
Like Skip Hollandsworth in his Texas Monthly audio series, and the true crime sleuths who parse through the actual data.
When you strip away all that noise, you are left with the physical reality of the skeletal remains found in January 2019.
Which was so heavily debated.
Endlessly debated on Reddit.
Mm-hmm.
Looking at the actual anthropological data from the University of North Texas, what's crucial is what wasn't found.
No weapons, right.
No weapons, no ropes, no cords near the body. The skull showed zero evidence of bullet holes.
What it did show was blunt force trauma, specifically comminuted fractures to the maxilla and zygomatic arch.
And for those of us without a medical degree.
That's basically the upper jaw and the cheekbone area.
Ah, okay.
The anthropology report determined the trauma appeared to be from a front-to-back force, but crucially, they could not rule out animal scavenging.
Oh, right.
A coyote or feral hog interacting with remains over 2 years can easily crush a cheekbone, making it look like a violent strike.
Which leads us to the prevailing theory among many journalists and internet investigators who followed the digital footprint.
Now, we need to be really clear here.
Yes. Before we dive into this, it is vital to explicitly state for you listening. We are simply reporting the theories presented by journalists and Reddit sleuths in the source material. We are not endorsing these viewpoints as absolute truths about the town of Canadian, the religious environment, or the Brown family's actions. We are impartially exploring the conclusions drawn by those who studied the case files.
Right. We aren't taking sides, we're just looking at what the sources laid out.
Exactly.
So what does this all mean?
The journalistic theory posits that Tom, who may have been silently struggling with his identity or sexuality in a deeply conservative religious environment, took his own life.
And this is heavily supported by that undeniable 9:11 p.m. Google search for a suicide hotline?
Yes, along with the deleted Facebook page and the wiped iCloud backups. The theory suggests that the family, specifically his mother or stepfather, somehow discovered him shortly after.
And the theory goes that, unable to bear the social stigma or what their community might view as the absolute sin of suicide, they staged the disappearance.
It's a heavy theory.
It is. They supposedly scattered his backpack, dumped the truck by the water plant, and then meticulously planted the pristine iPhone a year later to keep the murder narrative alive and force the town to look for a killer.
That's the argument.
But I have to push back here. Put yourself in the shoes of a juror looking at this. Is it truly realistic that a grieving mother or stepfather could meticulously stage a disappearance in the dead of night, hide the truth from the FBI, and maintain that lie for years without cracking?
If we connect this to the bigger picture of human psychology, it is incredibly difficult to fathom logically.
It just doesn't seem possible.
But trauma and grief are not logical. Psychologically, we have to consider the sheer power of cognitive dissonance and absolute denial.
Oh.
If this theory holds any weight, the family might not be acting out of calculated cold-blooded malice to deceive the police. They might be operating under a profound psychological survival mechanism.
So they actually believe their own story.
Their brains simply cannot accept the reality of suicide. So their subconscious constructs an alternate reality just to survive the pain.
A reality where a villain took him from them, rather than him choosing to leave.
Precisely. And this mirrors a much larger issue within the true crime community itself. Consumers of this media often desperately search for a sensational villain,
Like a corrupt, record-falsifying sheriff.
or an underground gambling ring, or a sadistic killer lurking in the dark. We want a bad guy to blame because it makes the world feel like it has rules.
It makes sense of the chaos.
Exactly. But the reality of these cases is often much quieter and far more tragic. It's often just immense human tragedy, hidden youth depression, and the crushing, suffocating weight of small-town expectations.
It's absolutely devastating. And it really brings us to why we are talking about this today, why this deep dive into the source material matters to you listening right now.
It's so relevant.
This case is an absolute masterclass in critical thinking and media literacy. It proves how easily the actual, factual truth can be buried under 6 feet of dirt when official incompetence, private agendas, and community gossip violently collide.
That's a great way to put it.
In our modern age of relentless information overload, discerning a verifiable fact like a cisdiagnosed battery log from emotionally charged fiction isn't just a fun exercise for armchair detectives. It is a vital daily skill to keep yourself grounded in reality.
It really is. It forces us to look inward at our own biases and how quickly we jump to sensational conclusions.
Definitely.
So, I want to leave you with a lingering thought to mull over long after this deep dive ends. If you were absolutely convinced that a terrible crime had been committed against someone you loved, how far would your own mind go to connect dots that aren't really there?
That's powerful.
And conversely, if the truth was simply too painful to bear, could you convince yourself of a lie so deeply that an entire town gets swallowed by it?